So I'm just gonna give first my take on like the weddings and all of that. I felt so bad for Raven. First of all, I didn't really see it coming from SK. I was kind of like, I don't know if either of them are gonna say yes, but even if they don't, I'm like, I feel like it's still gonna work out for them. Um, but yeah, I just, again, like with all these couples like going through it and then at the end saying no, like I feel like I would never want to put someone through like all of that, like getting my friends and family together and dressing up and getting my makeup done and getting my hair done, all to in the end stand up there and say no. Like, it's a waste of time, it's embarrassing, it's just a lot of things. But according to SK, he actually didn't know what he was going to do until he was up at the altar. So I love Raven's like relationship with his mom. Even though Raven's family wasn't there, at least you got to see Raven develop like a good relationship with his mother. And I was kind of surprised because I remember when they first met, I thought it was, I don't know, I thought she wasn't gonna like Raven, and she ended up being really like open to her and very supportive, and I'm just totally here for it. And you could totally see that his mother, when he said no, his mother was like, why? Like when she put the veil on Raven, and it was all just so beautiful. And I just felt even more for Raven because even Raven was like I literally love his mom, you know, like we built such a great relationship. So in the end, for it to go down like that, I definitely felt so sorry for her. Especially because she was the one that went first and she was like, you know, yeah, I'm ready to do this. So Nancy and Bartise was like, I just like can't with the whole thing. I truly felt like the whole time like Nancy's gonna say yes. Is Bartise gonna say yes? Like I don't know. But like when it showed him sending her that shot, saying something like let's do this or we got this or whatever the fuck it said, I was convinced. I was like, okay, there's no way. There's no way you do that gesture and then stand up there and say no. Like there's just no way. But as we saw, he says no. It was wild to watch because you see her family have a very strong reaction. And they're, you know, her mom is pissed, her brother's pissed. I'm sure her dad was pissed, but he wasn't the one, you know, all up in there. And you see Nancy try to handle it, like basically just telling her family, like, leave me alone. Like, this is something that I gotta talk out with Bartise. Like, stop getting in it. And it's very hard for her family because they're emotional and they're pissed. And I'm like, if I was her family, I'd be pissed too. I'd probably be up there cussing him out. But like, another part of me is like, you got to be respectful and you got to understand that like Nancy is going through it too, and she has to process things on her own way. And if she's telling you like, leave me alone right now, like I need to speak, I need this private moment with my ex-fiance to just like talk this out, then like let it be, you know, talk your shit later, let it be. So like after all of that, you know, we see finally Nancy and Bartise have a moment to themselves off to the side to be able to discuss like just everything. And I really give Nancy props because I love the way she handled it. Like, she was like, I was in and you weren't. Like, I said yes and you said no. She said something like, how is this not black and white? And I was like, girl, I'm here for it. She's taking a stance. She's like, you didn't choose me. Because she could have he wanted to still keep things going, right? Still be engaged and do all of that. But she was very much like, no, you didn't choose me. This is like, you made your decision. Like, it's done. And I respect her for that because I think that's something very difficult to do. And she really kept her composure. It isn't until later when she's talking to the cameras where she's, you know, saying how heartbroken she is. She says a quote, and I have it here. She says, I wanted to believe that if I took a risk to love him for who he was, he would do the same. And she kind of like tears up while she's saying that. And I was like, that was so touching. And I'm like, I feel so bad for Nancy because from the beginning, Bartise, how old is Nancy? She's like in her 30s, I think. 31. Is she 31? Bartise was 25, and she from the beginning said, like, as soon as she found out his age, she was like, ugh, you know. But she decided to take a chance on that, and in the end, it backfired. She wanted it to work so much, and it didn't. So I feel bad for her in that sense too, because it's like one of those things where you're like, fuck it, I'm gonna take a chance and hopefully it'll work out. And in the end, it doesn't. You're just kind of like, I should have just gone with my gut feeling. Now, Alexa and Brennan. I mean, I think everyone knew that Alexa and Brendan were going to end up together. There's no way I saw either of them saying no at the altar. And they are just like the couple of the damn show because they just had almost a perfect relationship. There were never any red flags, and they got along great. There were some things that I think both of them had to work on, and they did that together. And in the end, it worked out for them. Personally, I love Alexa. I think she's super funny. She's like my type of bitch. I'm like, we would totally be friends in real life. But I wanted to touch on the moment that she has with her dad. This is how I have to like shake my coffee now because why did everyone get rid of stoppers? This is a seasonal drink at Phil's. It's the Winter Bliss. It's good hot, it's good iced, it's good really sweet. I get creamy cream and sweet sugar. This is the iced one. It's amazing. The moment that Alexa and her dad have before she walks down the aisle, it's just so precious. It's so precious. You know, he says like, I don't think it hasn't hit me yet. Like, I'm gonna wake up one night in the middle of the night and say, oh my god, like my daughter's married. In one scene, he's like talking to the camera and he says, Alexa is a very likable, very charming person. So in the back of my head, I knew that some guy's gonna fall in love with her. I didn't know if she was gonna love somebody back. I thought that was super cute. I think it just goes to show how well he knows his daughter, and I love it. I thought it was cute. He kind of gets like teary-eyed. He starts crying a bit before they like even make their way down the aisle, and I was like, oh, so cute. Even when they're up there about to get married, he starts crying too. So Zanab and Cole, I don't even know what to say about them. While Zanab is getting ready, you know, she definitely says more than once that she doesn't really have her mind made up and that she loves Cole, but that she doesn't know what she's gonna say until she's at the altar. She even says, I won't know until like I hear him speak and say his vows. So as they're saying their vows, Zay goes first, and I'm just like, what the fuck? Because she basically tells him that she knows the way that he needs to be loved and that she's just not that woman. And then she goes into how he's disrespected her, critiqued her, you know, like all of these super negative things, and says that he destroyed her self-confidence. So she says all those negative things, but then still says that she loves him and that he's a good man and all of these things. And as she's like walking away, so she says her piece, she walks away, and her friends all clap. So I think as it comes out later in the reunion, people like thought that might have been like planned or something. Like she might have already made her decision beforehand, told her friends what the deal was, and then that's why they clapped. But I think it was really in the moment because she did like pretty much tell them off. I think people were just kind of like, yes, bitch. I do that for my friend too. And I'm not even going to touch on Colleen and Matt because it's just like, I don't have much to add to that. Now we're going to get into the reunion. It's so funny because they start off, I think Nick asks Raven, like, oh, do you have any jumping jacks you have to get out of the way? And I was like, that is so funny because that scene when Bartise is opening up to Raven, and like, I forgot what he told her, but he told her something very personal, something that he said he hadn't told anyone ever, I think. And she's just like doing jumping jacks after he just like opened up, and he calls her out on it. Like, are you doing jumping jacks? And she's like, yeah. And I think that was the turning point for Bartise. I think he was like, Raven's not for me. Because after that is when you saw him kind of shift like 100% of his attention towards Nancy. But anyways, I thought that was kind of like a funny way to open up the reunion and just like kind of lighting things up before going into all the drama. So we see the scene with Colleen and Cole at the pool, you know, where he kind of just is meeting her for the first time and tells her how attractive she is and whatnot. We all saw the scene. So they ask Zanab how she felt watching that. And before she can even answer, Colleen kind of like interrupts and she's like, you know, can I just say something? And she goes on to say that she loves Matt and Zanab so much, and you can hear it in her voice. She's like, I'm still very emotional about it. Like you can tell that it's an uncomfortable and emotional conversation for her to have. But she's basically like telling them how much she loves them both, and how she would never want to make them feel like disrespected or like bad about anything. So I think she deeply regrets that scene with Cole, even though she's not the one that came on to him and she didn't necessarily say anything terrible. She did, you know, kind of go back and forth with him a little. You know, it was a little flirty, it was. So I think watching it back, she feels really embarrassed and just really bad about it. And you could totally see it because during that whole time, she was just super like stiff and serious. And you can see it on her face. She looked visibly uncomfortable. So I was just like, I feel bad for her. You know, like that's obviously a moment that she regrets, and she doesn't want to hurt anyone's feelings. So then you see Zanab basically say that Cole never apologized for having that talk with Colleen, and he's going back. They're both just going back and forth because he's saying that he did apologize that same night, and she's saying that it wasn't until like 2 weeks after. Like, it's like a whole thing. So it's just interesting throughout this whole reunion how they can never agree on something. Like, it's like he said, she said, like, which is the truth, you know? It's like, I don't know who to believe here. And then Vanessa turns it back on Raven, and she's just kind of like, it was so heart-wrenching for her to see the moment where SK's mom put the veil on her. And you can tell when she's saying that, Raven gets like emotional. Like, she kind of like tries to fight back the tears a little bit. And I was like, oh, that's so sweet. Like, you can tell it's still a touchy subject, basically, because I mean, how couldn't it be? Raven says it was just like a very difficult moment, and she wasn't really prepared to hear him say no. And SK basically says that he didn't know what his answer was going to be until he was up there with her. And of course, they reveal that they're dating again. There's obviously lots of drama with SK and Raven that I'm gonna like get into in a bit. But yeah, at the reunion, when the reunion taped, which was just a few weeks ago, I forgot when, but it was just recently after it had already aired, they reveal that they're dating again, and they kind of touch just on their long distance relationship and how they're making it work. So then we see like the little bit of clips between Nancy and Raven where they're kind of like talking bad about each other. So it cuts to Raven, the clip where Raven is talking about Nancy, and she's kind of just like, oh, you know, Nancy's one of those girls that you run into from high school, like at Walmart or something, and you're just kind of like, you know, you kind of just want to avoid, so you act like you don't see them. And then we see the conversation where Nancy is just, she's like pretty shocked that her and Raven were at the top of Bartise's list because they're both so different. And she's speaking on Raven and basically saying like she's like a negative person. And then, you know, you see Raven talk about how like she feels bad about what she said, and she never wants like anyone to feel bad about things that she said. So she says like, I guess during the pods, her and Nancy weren't really that close, but I think after things wrapped, I think that's when they began to get a little closer. So she talks about how like, you know, like it was shady of her, but like she totally apologizes, and you know, there's no beef between them, basically. Then they run the footage of Bartise talking to Nancy. They're both, I think, drunk, tipsy, whatever. And he's basically just going on about how Raven is like so good looking and all these things. So they're showing that, but they also have like that little box where it shows Raven's reaction. And she's just like, oh my, like you can tell she's just like so uncomfortable. And she's like, this is so cringy to watch. Raven says that it was shocking for her to see the footage of Bartise saying all those things about her, because she's like, I thought we had our thing in the pods, and after that, like after we made our decision, it was that, like it was scratched. And clearly that was not the case for Bartise, because he was saying a whole bunch of wild shit. Then they asked Bartise if he regretted his decision after seeing Raven in person, and he says he didn't, but I truly don't believe that. Like when he was in the pool talking to Raven, and I forgot what he said, but he was like saying things he shouldn't say. I'm like, if Raven would have gone for it, which props to her, because she totally shut that down. So I had a totally wrong impression of Raven, because I was under the impression that she only chose SK kind of just to choose him. I didn't feel like it was genuine until after, because I think I saw her be like not really emotional and a little colder, and that's just her personality and who she is. So I really judged her for that when I shouldn't have. But props to Raven, because she totally shut down Bartise during that moment, and I was like, that is the moment I was like, girl, yes, because I thought she was gonna go for it and she didn't. So my thing is, if Raven wouldn't have shut that down, I guarantee he would have been kind of like flip-floppy with her and Nancy. Then you kind of just see him apologize to Nancy for saying those things, and SK kind of gets into it too, and he's like holding no like bad blood between him and Bartise. He's just kind of like, he kind of checks him, like he's something like, my girl's a baddie, like I knew she was gonna have like other guys going after her, but he's just like, don't do it again, bro. And then Bartise is kind of like, yeah, you know, like whatever. But it's interesting because when all the tea was coming out of SK, you know, all those TikToks of those girls coming out talking about how they were in a relationship with him and how he's been cheating on Raven and all of these things, I watched one of Bartise's stories, and he posted like a little, what is he called? The hermit? The little frog guy, the Muppet. Oh, it's not Hermit Crab, it's Kermit the Frog, of him just drinking tea. And I was like, he's definitely posting that because of everything coming out with SK and Raven. And I'm just like, we're not here for any Raven slander, at least. Not SK. SK, I mean, I don't know. I felt like Bartise was a little salty about the SK and Raven thing, because it's like, why even put your 2 cents in? Like, stop. So towards the end, they kind of ask Bartise if he's doing any dating. And then like Nancy and kind of like pretty much all the girls kind of chip in, like they were waiting on this question, because they were like, nah, we're spilling the tea. So Nancy goes into the fact that she literally said a day after the wedding, somewhere on social media, he was seen with a tall blonde, as she says, and they were all over each other and whatnot. So clearly the girls have talked about it, because even Raven chipped in. She was like, yep, he's been dating, you know, like, I mean, what are we supposed to do with that information? If he was out there doing that stuff, then it's like, he tries to say, what does he say? He's like, he talks about how he was sad and he was coping, and if he doesn't cope the way that like other people feel he should. And I'm just like, is that coping though? Immediately the day after the wedding, you're seeing with a tall blonde all over each other. Like, to me, that's not coping, that's just doing you. Like, I don't know, to me it was never genuine. I don't think Bartise ever planned to stay with Nancy, and it's just like, that just solidifies things for me on what my original opinion was of Bartise. You know, the whole Cole and Zanab thing was just so, I don't even know how to like what happened there, because it's 2 people who don't agree on anything, and it's just, again, the he said she said thing. They bring up the whole like cuties thing, the tangerine moment. She brings up the fact that he told her before the wedding day, he told her that he got a girl's number at a bachelorette party, and then later she says that he kissed someone or tried to kiss someone at the bachelor party, and he totally denies it. Like, she's just like, this is what you said to me. She's like, Cole, you said this to me. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, I just like, why? How? Just how? Like, it's just like, own up to your shit. If you really said that, own up to it. The guy seemed a little like up in the air about it. Like, no one was like, so did you guys go out after or not? Because the girls are saying you did, and none of the guys are really saying they did, but they're also not saying they didn't. Like, I think Matt said like, I was so drunk I knocked out, or was that Brennan? Whatever. Like, someone please clarify things, because it's weird. It's like, if you really did say that, then own up to it, and if that's what happened, own up to the truth. because it's like, why would Zainab lie about that? Why would she just make up some random lie? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. And yeah, it was just a lot of it was pretty much like all the girls and some of the guys just getting on Cole. And say what you will, I did feel bad for Cole because he was clearly hurting. They referenced the tangerine scene, and at the end of the reunion they show us the clip, right? They show us the clip, and I feel like Cole and Zainab have two different ways of communicating. Like, I don't feel like they would have ever worked. And so I think Cole is someone who's really goofy. And in the beginning, and even now, I'm just like, he's too goofy for me. Like, I like goofy, but it's just like, if I feel like I can never have like a serious conversation with you without being goofy, then I just can't do it. And she is more, I think, on the serious side. So I truly feel like whether or not this whole thing would have happened, they would have just never worked out. But again, I feel like Cole's communication, to me, I swear, to me, it did not seem like he was trying to body shame her, but I can totally understand, because Zainab's point of her saying that, because she said throughout the thing that there were many times where he made her feel this way. So I can totally understand how him saying that, she would have been like, you're body shaming me, and she would have felt like shit about it. Because if it's something that you feel like someone keeps bringing up, even if it's as a joke or even if it's whatever it is, it's gonna get to you and it's gonna make you insecure. So I totally get her. Now, I think Cole says things sometimes without actually thinking them through, and I think that's where the problem lies. Because do I think that Cole himself had like bad intentions and wanted to make her feel bad? I truly don't. I just think they're two different people, and they have two different ways of communicating, and they were just never going to like understand each other or like be able to work out, in my opinion. But I don't think Cole's a bad person. I just think like he has a lot of growing to do. I think he's still kind of scarred from his previous relationship too. I know they touched on that. And I also think like maybe he needed to have the support of his family too. Like Zainab at the end was like, I don't need to be part of like someone's family who doesn't give two shits about even meeting me, you know? And I totally understand that. Like, who would want to get into that type of relationship? Like, no thanks. But yeah, we see Cole kind of in the end, we see him kind of just break down about it, and he's kind of going on about how like everyone thinks he's a horrible person. And Zainab, I think, is being pretty nice. She's just like, I don't think you're a bad person. She's like, if I could do this over again, even if it had the same outcome, I would do it again, and I would only do it with you. But yeah, I don't know. I think Cole got a lot of shit. It's just like, for me, it's like, why make someone feel even more like shit? So now, really quickly, the SK and Raven tea. I'm so disappointed by this. I'm so sad for Raven. And it's all very confusing because I think it was like after the reunion aired, things started coming out about SK. I saw two different girls, I don't know if there were more, I saw two different girls post about how they were in like a full-blown relationship with him. They were flying out on vacations with him very, very recently. I think the last, one of the girls said that she had gone with him to, was it Mexico? Just a few months ago, in like August or something. I don't even remember. We're in December now, people. I don't remember. But I was like, girl, I was on TikTok, and you know, you get onto something on TikTok and then the algorithm just keeps suggesting things related to it. So I was seeing all the tea. I was seeing Raven's responses, and Raven was really holding him down. Like, she was defending him for a minute until they called it quits. So I just, like, that's a whole thing. I don't even really want to get too deep into it. If you saw the TikToks, then you saw them. But there was picture proof. There was a lot of things. Now, did SK really cheat? I don't know. It seems that way. But one of his final statements, I think on his Instagram, they sent a cease and desist letter apparently over to one of the girls that was, making some claims. He touches on that and how he can't really talk about it because it's a legal matter. And then he says that both he and Raven, after filming, like, were not dating, and were dating other people. Like, he says both of them were. So that's something that Raven said on a podcast recently that I watched. She was on the Nick Viall podcast, and she said that after filming, they were not together. However, she didn't clarify when they started like officially dating, but she did say that they had been officially together for about a year or a little over a year. She said something like that. And so, if you're adding up the timelines and you're seeing all this come out on TikTok from these other girls, and they've been together officially for about a year, then in my humble opinion, SK did cheat. Because if those timelines are adding up, I mean, you can even compare it to the post on his Instagram. It does seem like he cheated. So yeah, I don't think we'll ever really know the full tea. Raven's handling it pretty well. I'm glad she's trying to kind of just move on. She's even being kind of funny about it sometimes. But yeah, I'm here for all the Raven content. I did start following her like on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube. I've done some of her workouts, and they're just like, I was sore. Okay, the first workout I did of hers, of one of her Pilates workouts, the next day I woke up and when I tell you I was sore for like a good 3 days. I'm gonna continue watching her videos. I think her TikToks are really funny. She even says in one of the interviews, like, she's kind of like bummed that no one really got to see her personality because she feels like she's really funny. And like, now that I'm following her like on social media, I'm like, she's totally right, because we didn't get to see this side of her. But yeah, that's my little recap on the reunion, and I will be just trying to get back on my YouTube grind and upload. I'll be uploading probably more videos of like, I don't know, different things I want to talk about. But that is all for today. I'm gonna actually try to do a video on I got these Trader Joe's candles that are sitting right here, and I want to do like I haven't opened them yet. But this is 12 days of scented candles. Look how big this box is. It was $30 at Trader Joe's. Okay. Does my hair look long? Does it look like is this still considered short hair? Someone let me know. Like, my hair, I've always had long hair. Okay. I'm someone that I've just always had long hair, like up to my waist, long hair. Okay. Literally almost a year ago. It was sometime like the last week of December. Okay. I went into my hairstylist, and I naturally have very dark hair, dark black. I used to box dye it a lot. Okay. A lot. And I was in the process of trying to lighten it up with my hair girl. And one day I go in, I wanted a balayage, and the bleach finally sticks, but it compromises my hair so much. Okay, my hair was at my waist, that it was shorter than this. It was like, oof, it was short. Okay, should have cut off all my hair because the bleach had damaged my hair so much that she had to chop my long locks up to basically my shoulders, kind of. It's been a trying experience ever since. Like, I'm still trying to work things through, but I finally feel comfortable kind of curling my hair now, because obviously curling it shortens the length, and it's layered, so it obviously looks shorter in some areas, like up here, but it's growing, and I'm happy. And maybe in a year it'll finally feel like I'm at a like comfortable length, hopefully. I hope.